Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild / Lift the Mask. And for this week's session, we are kind of switching things up a little bit. My schedule got pretty crazy with work and everything else. And so we're actually going to do a pre-recorded session this week where we have our good friend Michael Stacy joining us from Michigan. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through a new platform / website that Mike and his friend Jess Buckley have created here called Win Your Warmup. And it looks like an awesome platform. Mike kind of shared some of the details with me, about a week ago. I was 100% on board in terms of, supporting this new platform that Mike and Jess have created. I think it's an awesome tool that's going to help a lot of goalies just mentally prepare for games. And so what we're going to do is, again, we're going to toss this over to Mike and Jess. I'll let them kind of introduce themselves in case, you might be watching a Lift the Mask session for the first time. And then we'll ask some basic questions about, goaltending and preparation and why this new platform they've created is going to give you an edge and help you with your mental game. So that's kind of the goal for this week's new kind of format. And again, it's really exciting for me to have Mike involved. As you guys know, Mike is one of our professional providers on the Lift the Mask platform. Someone who I've gotten to know pretty well over the last few years, even though we haven't met in person, but just a guy that's committed to helping goalies with their mental health and performance. And I'll go through the quick little intro I always do at the top of these sessions and say that Lift the Mask is a mental health platform for goaltenders. All the information about our program is available on our website at liftthemask.com. And we are a free resource center for goaltenders, goalie coaches, and goalie parents to find the mental health and mental performance resources that they need, whether it's a professional provider, or just some articles that have been written about how to improve your mental game, or you're looking for a sports psychologist and professional help. And the Goalie Guild's nonprofit foundation does provide financial support upwards to $100 per individual that is looking for mental health care and support. So within that platform, we do these weekly sessions. We started doing these weekly sessions back in mid to late March. When the pandemic hit the United States, and it's been awesome just kind of building our community, bringing in special guests like Mike and Jess. And of course, we're also joined this week by Chase Hollander. As you guys know, Chase was a key player in the Lift the Mask platform getting built, as he was the one who connected us with CPEX at the University of Denver. So Chase is joining us as well. Awesome to have him jump in and be a part of this session. And that's it. So again, kind of a different format this week, but for those of you that are watching on YouTube, we appreciate you guys, tuning in. And with that being said, I'm going to toss it over to Michael and Jess. Mike and Jess, why don't you guys just briefly introduce yourselves for any newcomers, and then we'll let you guys take it away with Win Your Warmup. Sure.
My name is Mike Stacy. I appreciate the kind introduction. Shoot, that's fantastic. I'm a mental skills coach based out of Plymouth, Michigan, and I do a little bit of travel to work with teams and organizations around the area. I've been at this since I moved back to Michigan in 2013, and honestly, most of my work is with hockey teams and specifically goaltenders. So it was kind of a natural fit to team up with Goalie Guild and Lift the Mask and say, hey, let's see what we can do to help people. I'll turn it on over to Jess.
Hey guys, it's first of all, thank you for the introduction. It's great to be here. I'm a strength coach in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I have been about the last 5 years with all different types of populations. I don't really work with teams, actually. It's more in the private sector, but being a hockey player for my entire life, Mike knew that I would be passionate about this project. So I was really jazzed that he reached out to me to help him out with it. So with that, Mike, I'm going to toss it back to you to get into what I call your brain baby is all about.
Thanks, buddy.
And actually, I want to give, because I don't think Chase has joined us on one of these sessions where he's had an actual chance to introduce himself. So again, for anyone new that might be joining in, we've had Chase on. We've interviewed him a few times on Instagram and stuff like that. I think it was Channel 9 News that came out to the University of Denver and did the story with us on the ice. So I think people like might recognize you, but since you haven't had a chance to like quote unquote formally introduce yourself, Chase, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Okay, appreciate that. Can everyone see me and hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can see
Okay.
you.
Appreciate that, Justin. And then after I'll introduce myself, how about I will open up with a question that I think will kind of help lead into what Mike and Jess will be talking about. But yeah, sure. I think a good place to start would just be where I'm at right now, which isn't too much in the sport world or the hockey world. I'm actually working as a milieu counselor at a youth homeless shelter here in Denver. So it's definitely been a journey and an extreme learning experience doing that. What was meant to be more gaining experience has turned into really just like a kind of like hopefully a career path. Graduated from DU, University of Denver, with my master's in sport and performance psychology. And we'll be entering a new cohort in the clinical psychology doctorate program at DU this upcoming fall. That's about all I got. Avid mental health advocate, men's mental health, now retired goalie coach, but hockey and goalie lover overall. But been mainly on the Facebook post, so it's kind of nice getting some FaceTime up here again. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
And then I'll have this question for Jess and Mike. My question for you was, why the warm up? What made you want to start, emphasizing on that warm up piece? Maybe that will help lead into your presentation.
Yeah, no, that's great. Jess, do you want to spearhead, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, I can start. I'll just go with, my personal why and a little bit of my background. So I played hockey through college. I played at the University of Michigan for 5 years as a defenseman. So not a goalie, but was always referred to as a goalie's best friend. I just want to say that I was one of those defensemen. So through my whole playing career, always had those aches and pains that I just assumed were natural and part of being a hockey player. And I was, over this whole project, having conversations with Mike, if you're only in a population of people that are doing the same activities that you're doing, you're probably going to all have the same aches and pains and things wrong with you. And especially playing a sport from a young age, it's just, you adapt to that as your new normal. And I didn't really discover that it wasn't normal until I had literally finished my hockey career for good, attempted to do almost any other type of physical activity, and was in a lot of pain all of the time. And through continuing education and things that I've learned over the past couple of years on my own and from people much smarter than me, I no longer have pain, and I'm able to do whatever I want physically, whether it's playing hockey again or lifting, which is what I primarily do now, or just, every common day activity. I mean, there was a point in time where I couldn't walk without hip pain, and I never thought that would not be a thing. And the way that I approached it was through low-level warm-up and cool-down work. And it doesn't have to take up large parts of time. And I'm trying to tie it back into the original question, which is like, why the warm up? And I think for me, it's short, it's important, it's stuff that can be done every single day, but it gets the job done, and it has a really long lasting impact on, obviously with Mike's side, the mental component of it, but from my side as well, the physical capability component as well. And so Mike, I'll kind of toss to you.
So the warm-up was kind of a natural fit for delivering good quality, like body bulletproofing and things to help with your performance. I came from a strength and conditioning background for, what's run parallel to my sports psych career, almost my entire professional life. And the warm-up is where you set the foundation for what you were going to do that day in terms of priming the body and making sure that anything that had nicks or dings, aches and pains were squared away and ready to go. And then as a mental skills coach for different organizations, I was looking at, man, I'm trying to get these guys to practice mental skills, and they're pressured for time. Like, you've got philanthropy, you've got appearances, you've got practice, you've got workouts, then you want to see your family. Like, you don't want to spend an extra 30, 40 minutes like doing some mental skills work that would help, but like, when do you fit it in? So I realized, okay, the warm-up is this perfect delivery mechanism for bulletproofing the body, priming it, and then practicing the mental game in a way that's going to transition and segue right into when you step on the ice. So you clear your head, you're more dialed in, and you've just gotten each and every single time you've practiced, each and every single time you've worked out, each and every single time leading up to your first game, mental skills practice. So you can say, all right, mentally I'm ready for this, and I've done reps every single day.
All right, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's this is something that I'm thinking in the back of my head, going through the importance of the warm up, and I always feel that adrenaline rush getting into a warm up, because the game's at hand, and you've done all the things that you need to do to feel prepared. But I think the way that you're kind of balancing the physical and the mental prep is really cool. Really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a big passion project for us. So, Dan Allison, Jess, and myself put in as much of our professional experience and thought as we could into building a warm-up that progressively evolved with you over 12 weeks. And then, I troubleshots, spitballed, and then finally built what was tested for about a year, and then finalized after another year of like development work to say, okay, this is your 12-week mental skills training program that evolves with your warm-up as you go. And we knew that athletes had their own warm-ups that they like to do with their coaches. And some coaches say, hey, I'm a real stickler for this. You have to do this. You can do stuff on your own on the side, but you have to do this. So we said, okay, let's put together the things that we know will fit cleanly into what you're already doing, add one or two movements, and build some mental skills work in, and then let you loose, let you go train, go practice a little bit more primed. So that first phase of when your warm up, the first 4 weeks of it, you really learn fundamentals. You learn some fundamental movement patterns and skills from Jess and Dan's work, and then fundamentals of the mental game. You move on to the next phase, and we say, okay, you've got some fundamentals, but this isn't a cookie cutter thing. We want you to identify your needs and identify where you're struggling in your game. And then we walk you through building off those fundamentals to say, all right, I struggle with this. This is how I tackle it. Let me assess and reassess and make sure I'm doing a good job at it. So that finally, when you hit the last phase of when your warm up, you've got all these tools that you've practiced with and all these tools and skills that you've flexed for body care and for mental prep. And you can say, all right, it's heavy time of the season. Let me create a program for myself for mental skills training and take everything I know about my body now, what feels good, and plan a solid, cohesive warm-up that runs right along with it. The goal for me, personally, I, as a coach, like financially struggled for years. Like it was, do I eat or do I buy a textbook? And if I bought a textbook, like you better believe I read that thing a few times. So like same thing as an athlete. Like it was do you get gear, do you get resources, or do you trade it for food? So I said, all right, let's make this an affordable platform that's real cheap, so that once you've got this, I don't want you to ever lose it. You have it for life, and we keep updating it for you. So after that season, on to the next one, you've still got these skills, you've still got these tools, and you can come back, evolve things as you've evolved, and reassess your mental game. Like I want you to have it. So
it sounds like that the reflecting, the assessing, taking that needs assessment is a big part of this 12-week program, which is almost like a mental skill in itself. So I think that's a really cool piece to this.
That's the hope, man. Onto the mental skills side of stuff, like you build up a lot of self-awareness with it. The first and the foundation is mindfulness, which, I've talked about before on the Lift the Mask, web series. It's just learning how to focus and let distractions go. So how do I dial into what's happening right now in the present, just let anything going on in my headspace be, and track the puck, watch the play, read what's happening. And if I get distracted, easily reel myself back in. And that's that first phase, the fundamentals, because you can't do other more advanced mental skills without that ability to really control your headspace. So we move you on to dealing with challenges, where you learn, okay, these are the things that are hard for me. Let me learn acceptance as a skill, so I can get okay being uncomfortable sometimes. Let me learn how to be willing to confront difficult, challenging situations, which is a whole bag and skill in itself. And then we're going to teach you, and really you teach yourself, how to commit to, all right, I'm uncomfortable, I'm feeling challenged, I'm feeling my performance anxiety. Let me play through it. Let me focus on doing these very specific things that I've outlined for myself. And then you've got the tools and you've got practice at it. So you build a plan. All right, when I'm nervous pregame, these are the skills that I use, and this is how I handle myself when I'm nervous. Okay, I let in a bad goal, quote unquote bad goal. It's probably someone else's fault. I let in a bad goal. Let me bounce back. I know I'm going to feel frustrated. I know I'm going to feel down, but I can accept those feelings. I can be willing to experience it while I focus on performing right here, right now, and just get back into my game. And we set you up with some goals and some measurable ways to assess how you did that throughout the season. And like you said, the mental can't really be separated from the physical. So we want you to start with the fundamentals, where you're learning all this stuff through basic skills, and then you progress it up to doing some things in the breaks into practice, doing things before you step on the ice for a game, and in the on ice warm up, and then you're dialed in. So to pass it on to Jess for the physical, that's really where it all mingles in, and you get a lot of the value for bulletproofing and the mental part.
Yeah. So kind of to bounce off what Justin said at the beginning about, going into your warm up and getting amped to perform and amped to compete and amped to train, that's really easy for athletes, right? That's that fight or flight, that sympathetic response that comes super naturally when it's go time. That's the adrenaline rush. And that's where a lot of athletes live. So, and that's what I think of as half of the athleticism equation. And the other half is performance generally is coupled with extension. In an extended position, you think of a hockey stride, like pushing off. You're getting hip extension, you're getting lumbar extension. Again, indicators of performance. Extension is being strong, fast, and powerful, which, again, easy for athletes to achieve that. So with the idea of these physical components was teaching athletes how to get into the parasympathetic nervous system, that resting nervous system state, and also creating more movement variability by teaching athletes how to get into flexion. So the foundation of where we start with the physical aspect of it is just teaching breath work, diaphragmatic breathing. So when you're in a sympathetic state, it often leads to short, shallow chest breathing, which makes a lot of sense. As we're working out, as we're exercising, when your adrenaline is high, you're quick breathing, your chest is coming up and down. We're all super familiar with that. So this short, shallow breathing tends to be associated with a higher resting heart rate, lower oxygen delivery to tissues, decreased recovery, decreased quality and quantity of sleep, increased stress response, increased perception of threat, and increased anxiety. So you can see how a couple of those components can be really, really great for performance, Like you do want an increased stress response when you're competing. You kind of want to have that high alert system on. However, if you look at the other end of it, if you can never get out of it, you're never going to be able to calm down. You're never going to be able to think logically. You're not going to get good sleep, and it's going to lead to that heightened mental state that the mental skills side is addressing too. But obviously we're coupling it because you can't have one without the other. So we teach the diaphragmatic breathing first and foremost, that's associated with the parasympathetic input of relaxation, emotional control, resting, digesting, and teaching those strategies help the overall system downregulate and improve an athlete's ability to alternate between sympathetic and parasympathetic state. And then the second component of the physical drills is teaching flexion. So like I said before, extension is power, but you don't want to live in extension, because if you're already extended, your power output is inherently limited. So if you have more movement variability, you have more room to develop power. So the physical drills combine specific positions with that breath work that we've laid the foundation for in order to make postural changes that will restore that movement variability. So the reason that we combine positions with breath work is because if you can't breathe through a position, then you don't own it. So being able to fully breathe and release that excessive tension through movement allows your brain to understand that you can survive there. So if you go into a position that your body perceives as a threat, it's going to heighten your sympathetic nervous system response, which is exactly the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So it's the idea of coupling positions that your body isn't used to or doesn't quite know how to get into, and teaching your nervous system from the inside out that it's okay. So we're kind of attacking the skeleton, basically. We're changing the position of the bones in order to get that response that we want from the musculoskeletal system as a whole. So obviously I could go on about this, but I told Mike to stop me.
If you've done like a hip mobility drill and you're like, your neck's tight, your shoulders are raised up, and you're struggling to breathe through it, like, sweet job doing hip mobility. You don't have any. You just force the position. You don't own that.
Exactly.
So that ability to breathe through, own, and control a position and teach your nervous system, hey, this is safe for me to be this flex. This is safe for me to be this extended. I can achieve athletic positions and maintain them, and it's not me cheating it to get there, is huge. Jess and I were laughing before we got on the call. We said, yeah, you can do all the meditation you want in the evening, but if you can't cool yourself down in an athletic position, like, sweet job. You're kind of missing a big component of where you live and make your bread, and that's on the ice. Being able to alternate between, all right, I'm dialed in, I'm focused, I'm ready, I'm alert, and okay, it's between periods. Let me dial it back for a second. Let me clear my head. Let me get into safe, comfortable positions again, and kind of go about my business until I'm ready to fight or flight, go again.
Right. And Mike, I think you bring up a good point there at the end, like dialing it up or dialing it back. I think we know a lot of goalies are pretty good at getting amped up and having that adrenaline flow. And you see it in a lot of goalies. They'll have the nervous energy. And we know now that breathing is one of the most important skills a goalie can have. I feel like breathing is like kind of where vision training was 5 years ago. It's like we kind of knew it was important, but no one really knew how important it was.
Yeah.
To being able to perform, with a clear head and like you said, be able to make the right decisions and just kind of get into that flow state. And now we're starting to like actually teach it. It's starting to become more common, term in the goalie dictionary. And I think it's great to know that you do focus on that in this program, because I think I see a lot of goalies and they just, like you said, they've got great range of movement, they've got unbelievable athleticism, like they want to stop the puck so badly, but they almost want it too bad. They force things, and if they just learned how to breathe a little bit and learn how to relax themselves, it would really help. And that's a lesson a lot of goalies have to learn, is like, sometimes it's easier to dial it up, but it's a lot tougher sometimes to dial it back. You know, you have to know when to go 110% and when to maybe go 90% or whatever the case may be. So it sounds like you guys really emphasize that, and that's awesome as part of this, you know, 12 week program you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, that's the biggest thing that most people struggle with, is being able to dial it down. And I was telling Mike a couple years ago, I had an experience with a massage therapist who had worked in a professional league, and I can't remember if it was the NHL or the MLB. I don't know how I got those confused, but somehow. And but she was telling me that professional athletes, their muscles are actually like very soft and supple, and they're relaxed when she's working on them. And she's like, people associate being fit and being able and athletic as being very tight. And she's like, that's just not true at all. The best athletes are the ones that have the ability to reduce their muscle tone when they need to, because that's how you turn it on and get to peak output, peak performance. But you have to be able to turn it off. And that goes, I mean, the musculature is connected to the mental state. And I think that, you know, this program of ours it's trying to make that connection and bridge the gap between thinking mental skills exist over here and physical skills exist over here. But really, you can't have the best of both without the other.
Really cool. Yeah, I think one of the things I've learned too, like, you know, my sister is a Pilates instructor, and she's taught me a lot about the body. And we always talk about this term control. And it's like, oh, goalies have to be so controlled with their movements, so controlled. Like, you got to be on your angle, like 100% of the time. And I think a lot of goalies equate control with like tension. Like, the more tight I am, like, oh, I'm controlled because I'm so tense. And it's like, no, it's actually the opposite. Like, control is really the balance between that tension and full relaxation. So I just what that comment you made about the comment you just made about you know athletes not being, you know, over tight. I just, the first goalie I thought of was Dominik Hasek, because I feel like Dominik Hasek was like a super wiry guy. He didn't have like major muscle tone, especially since he was like really popular in the 80s and 90s. Like, goalies were not nearly as fit back then as they are now. But like, that's the first thing I thought of, is that he was so relaxed and so loose, and he was able to get himself, and like, he was the ultimate contortionist, but he wasn't like a huge heavy set, like overly muscular dude. So I thought that was a great little comment that you shared there earlier.
It's going to be exciting, especially, you know, goalies adapting this, getting some feedback and finding out like, hey, this is how it impacted my game, or hey, this is what I realized is like one of my strengths, but I never knew how to use it before. Like, that's it's definitely one of the exciting parts. We pop onto the next slide over, and honestly, our hope is making sure that, you know, it said on the front end that as an athlete, you've got everything you need. Because something that we realized too is not every athlete has a program that's open to either budget-wise or vision-wise, like incorporating mental skills stuff. So as an individual, ideally, you can go out there and get mental skills training if geographically it's not viable, or fiscally it doesn't make sense to like work with a mental skills person for 12 weeks, 24 weeks, a season. I know when I was playing, it didn't for me, not to sell myself out of a job, but it's really to make this available so that when you step on the ice and you're ready for the season, you've got everything you need. You can approach any game and say, all right, the mental game is squared away. I've got the tools there that I need to do well. And more than just do well, really thrive here in uncomfortable and comfortable environments. And then have all the tools you need from that front end to say, okay, my body feels good, it's primed, it's pretty bulletproof. And if anything starts to come up during the season that, hey, I'm noticing this, hey, I'm tight here, hey, I'm struggling with my breathing and these postures, you can refer to what we've got is an exercise library that you can pick and choose. All right, let me try this out. Let me try that out. Let me find what works for me and really tailor it. So really, we just kind of wanted to have a toolkit for players and for teams that they could just have and keep. That's exciting.
Awesome. So yeah, do you want to just maybe walk through, how goalies can sign up, or if they're looking for more information, and then, yeah.
100%. Best way to get more information would be, and sign up, would be go to winyourwarmup.com. My email on there is mike@winyourwarmup. You can shoot me a message. I will answer whatever questions you got, and I'm more than happy. I'd rather you knew we're squared away, we're comfortable, than just walked into something blind, So winyourwarmup.com would be the place to get more info, get in contact. But you sign up via the website, and then the moment you sign up, you're sent a welcome email that's got access to the exercise library. All the check-ins for each day are right there on the front end on the website. So you log in any day and say, all right, it's week 1, day 1, let me open this. Week 1, day 3, I'll click over. And we also send you, built this on my own as a sidebar and a tool to it, was a journal, so that you can keep track of your progress and what you're experiencing each day, and what you're doing well at, what you're struggling with, and where you need some work. So you go to winyourwarmup.com, sign up, and then underneath that taskbar with your name showing up is your daily check-ins, a journal for your use, and then an exercise library. And it's as simple of an interface for mobile or for web as we could deliver, because we wanted you to just be able to get in there and play around and start using it, as opposed to have a boatload of stuff to load and anything to scroll through that's accessory. Mm-hmm. But Jess, on your end, what as far as getting exercises they need, where would they go? How would they use it?
Well, besides the videos that I have that are on the website, you can always check out my Instagram. It's at coach_JB17. When Your Warmup also has an Instagram, and so does Mike. And truthfully, Mike's Instagram is gold. I'm sure. I mean, serious, absolutely. As far as mental skills work goes, I'm sure that everyone watching this already follows you. I hope that they do, but little plug there.
Skills. At Mike Stacy Mental Skills, just click the follow button.
All right. Well, that's pretty sick. I mean, I love this platform. I think we're always trying to preach balance for goaltenders, and that's been the far-reaching, kind of theme and topic in the books that I've written with Mike Valley. And this looks like a great tool that's going to really preach that balance between the mental and the physical side, and show that harmony in how they work together, and how you have to have everything, the cylinders firing on both sides in order to, like you have here, like have the tools to win the mental game and keep your body primed and bulletproofed. So this is awesome. Again, I really appreciate, you've got the offer code listed here. You guys can see that on the screen with the 10% discount, and then $10 going to the Goalie Guild for the Lift the Mask platform. We, 100% appreciate that. That's totally awesome. And we're happy to support this. And again, I think any kind of tool that's going to help goalies become more self-aware, that's something that every goalie desperately needs, and every goalie is constantly working for, no matter how many games you've played or what league you play in. That self-awareness is something that goalies are always working on, and this looks like an awesome tool to help drive that forward for athletes. So thank you guys so much for sharing this information. Chase, I don't know, do you have another question for these guys, or should we let them off the hook?
We should let them off the hook. I just wanted to say that I think this was a really cool concept. I had written down that this was bridging both mind and body through the warm-up. And I think both Mike and Jess have mentioned, timing is so crucial for athletes, and you're improving both, your mind and body state in as little as time as your normal warm-up. So I think that's a really cool concept.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys tremendously. Thank you so much. It's, each time is a blast chatting with y'all. So this has been a fantastic time again. And thank you so much for being interested. I love that we can support Goalie Guild and lift the mask and help, guys and girls, lift the mask and access services when they need it.
Yep. Yeah. And this is to me, like, I think like Chase said, this is more than just a tool. This really is a service. I mean, it's a 12-week program. You've got the mental side, you've got the physical side, you see how they work together. And yeah, I think it is important for goalies to realize that, like, that preparation time, that warm up, I mean, that's a sacred time for goaltenders. It's really a chance to get dialed in within yourself. But there's always that potential for being too extreme. You know what I mean? Like, you can get lost and you can play the game before you play the game. And so I think a program like this is really cool because it's going to preach moderation. And like we talked about, dialing it back a little bit and the breathing and everything else. I think this is the type of program that can really help goalies get an edge on being ready to go and have a deeper understanding of what that really means. It's not just ready physically, it's also ready in terms of what's going on in your mind and in the world around you. So thank you guys again for sharing this. And all the information right there on that last slide. So good job setting that up. And thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is a different format, but one that I think I'll kind of lean on as the world around us gets slightly back to normal, with rinks opening up and hockey kind of coming back in different pockets of the country. I think this is a cool format to just do a little pre-recording and have some conversation and then toss it up on the YouTube channel. So thank you guys so much for joining, and for everyone tuning in. We'll be back next week. And again, www.winyourwarmup.com, and for Lift the Mask info, it's www.liftthemask.com. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks. Take care.